If we're serious about preventing inversions and about keeping American companies from picking up and moving their legal headquarters elsewhere, we need to get to the root of the problem. Anything else that we do, any tinkering along the regulatory edges, will only address the symptoms, and in the end, it will be like using a Band-Aid to treat a broken arm. Despite what some, including the President and high-ranking officials in the administration, have claimed, companies were not leaving the U.S. because of a lack of, quote, economic patriotism, unquote. For the record, I'm no fan of inversions, but I'm even less of a fan of the rhetoric that attacks that surrounded this issue in the last year. If you ask me, it is the national leaders that use their position to demonize our own companies that are lacking in, quote, economic patriotism. Not the companies who are simply trying to do right by their shareholders and firms trying to compete, produce, and hire workers to tap into markets and customers in growing economies. But I digress. I see these inversions as symptomatic of a dysfunctional tax code that is taxing at too high a rate and is attempting to tax worldwide income. What we need is a tax system that will encourage investment and growth within the United States. For that, we need tax reform. If you've been around Washington over the past few years, chances are you've already heard me talk about tax reform. I've been making the case for tax reform on the Senate floor, in the Finance Committee, in public appearances, in written materials, and in private conversations, and I'm going to continue to do so. I want to pose a question to the audience. Raise your hand if you heard about the tax reform book that I released in December. How many of you have heard of it? Well, quite a few. Quite a few in this minority who have heard about it. Now raise your hand if you read the whole thing. My goodness gracious. This is a tax script? You should read it. It looks like some of you have more homework to do, and you should read it. It's very interesting. Even I found it interesting. And that's a big confession by a member of Congress. In that book and elsewhere, I've laid out 7 principles that I believe should guide our tax reform efforts. I won't go into detail on each principle today. Instead, I'll just list them and encourage you all once again to read the book. Don't wait to see the movie. I don't think there'll be a movie from that, but you never know. We're so screwballed up there, and it could come out a very comical movie. The 7 principles are: 1, economic growth; 2, fairness; 3, simplicity; 4, permanence; 5, American competitiveness; 6, promoting savings and investment; and 7, revenue neutrality. Not all of these principles directly relate to the problem of inversions, but some of them do. The one that relates the most is American competitiveness. Put simply, we need to make America a better place to do business and put our job creators on an equal footing with their foreign competitors.